Hello?
Yeah, is Ike Lawrence around?
Mm-hmm.
My name's Jonathan Masters, formerly a Kentuckian, and I'm living in Colorado now, but I'm doing all this research on all the candidates for governor, and I got some questions for you if you don't mind.
Sure. Who are you with?
I'm with myself. I'm just an independent person who gives a damn.
No.
Are you
Republican?
I'm Green Party, so.
Are you in Kentucky or registered down in Colorado?
I'm in Colorado now, so I'm not a Kentuckian anymore, but I held on to Kentucky for 30 years. You can take the boy out of Kentucky, but you can't take Kentucky out of the boy.
Well, me.
Yeah, you're cool, man. Okay, so I've read a bunch of stuff about you, so I got I got some questions here that's relevant to some of the things you've said. To start off with, you had mentioned something that you had fought for a bridge. You saved half of a Jefferson Street bridge from demolition last year. So I was curious what.
And are you familiar with the T? It's known as Manchester Street, Jefferson. I saved my op-ed and my activism at the microphone to try to save the bridge. At least save the Manchester ramp and half the situation. It's a T. I didn't save the bridge, but I did save Manchester ramp being torn away as well.
I got you. That was combined in a sentence that you had talked about government. You helped with debt-free government housing. You saved Lexington $200 million.
Okay. The 5 urban county government buildings.
Yeah.
Were being sold under the bus by our mayor, and the buildings were being put down. Debt-free buildings were being put down by our mayor, and even though his building, 1 block away, which is the same age, is perfectly fine. His great construction building, 94 years old. We're not moving, but he wanted to move us out of the urban county government building, which is the old Lafayette Hotel, and the other 50-year-old buildings, and moved to a 50-year-old Harold Leader building, which was going to have to be remodeled, and that's on Midland Avenue.
Yeah,
it's created a donut hole of 250,000 square feet of empty commercial space.
It sounds like a common sense kind of idea, because it just seems like you got debt-free building right there.
What's happening is what people don't realize, which only very few people can say, is our council has switched from mostly male to majority female, and females get all upset when a ceiling tile falls and the air conditioning starts, and the pan leaks over into the ceiling tile, and they also lost 20 of their 40 spaces inside the government building. Was second level was condemned, so they lost some of their parking spaces. So they're having to walk across the street from the Helix parking garage, and they don't like that because it's mostly females that are running the show. And of course, it's 100% employees, and if you don't like the building, then my feeling is get another job.
Right. I agree with the main thrust of that. It seems common sense to save.
Nobody goes from debt-free to a lease and puts a lease on our children and our grandchildren. And this, of course, was brought up in the mayor's race. And I, of course, didn't win the mayor's race. And the mayor even won when she said she was for the move. But it still didn't go through. I was able to write a white paper after reviewing the notes that they made their decision on, and it turned out the $22 million in deferred maintenance was 100% wants and nothing that was needed. And one of them was a $3 million parking garage inside the building. Well, if you got a 500 space parking garage across the street, why do you need another 150 space parking garage inside the building? Just because it's 10 feet away.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, go ahead.
That's part of my resume, and I just thought people people should know that because I do fix things.
It's way harder to help folks outside of government than inside, so I could definitely relate to that. Were you born and raised in Lexington? What's your Kentucky?
63 years old, been here since age 2, 1957, and Dick Isaac Shelby, the first governor of Kentucky, is named for Ike Eisenhower, born in his administration, and that's one of my monikers is, of course, I like Ike.
Yeah, I like Ike too, man. He was all these bridges actually around. They're built in the 1950s, so it seems like we really invested in infrastructure, 70 years ago, and then just quit.
Yeah, and what's taking most of our money is selfish pensions.
Is selfish what?
The reason that is occurring is all the deferred maintenance on our infrastructure is due to way too much money going towards pension for these government people.
Yeah, that's such actually, tell me if I'm right about this, okay? So the way I understand that judges, they get paid, like the circuit court judges, they get paid over $100,000 every year. Even if they serve one term, do they get to retire for life? Is that?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I do know that when they do retire, fully vested, which I think that's the term, what is the definition of fully vested, which I think might be 10 years. Or you get the term tenure. The amount they get is 100% of their salary that they left with.
Well, it just sounds. Yeah, go ahead.
You get paid for nothing. You get paid, whereas you and I get 10% of that in our 401k.
It sounds insane, man. It sounds crazy, and
it's and they wonder why everything's falling apart. It's because they themselves have created it with these overly rich. They're not underfunded. They're overpromised.
Well, it just
Google overpromises, and you'll see how many states are also overpromised their workers, their state workers, and how much overpromised is more mentioned in Google than we mentioned here in Kentucky. We always just mention underfunded. That's not underfunded. It's overpromised.
It just the whole concept of, I mean, there's homeless people and there's poor people in Kentucky, yet we're going to give all of our tax dollars. I would think a conservative would be opposed to just, so much money for nothing. I mean, you got 401ks, you got Social Security, and then on top of it, Kentucky's giving these big fat pensions to judges who...
Their argument is they don't get Social Security, but they're getting 4 to 6 times the Social Security treatment.
Wow.
I mean, they don't pay into Social Security, but who cares? It's not a very good deal anyway. They're getting, and that's the reason they pay into it and get all these extra add-ons the past 25 years of higher, adding your sick leave to your pension, adding vacation time to your pension, reducing it from 5 years calculation to 3 years calculation average. I mean, the giveaways didn't surface until we switched over to Bevin because we didn't know how bad it was. They were kicking the can down the road and how much these legislators were catering to the union for their vote and giving them underfunded overpromises.
You had mentioned that your plan for the pension would be something that you referred to the Bluegrass Institute plan?
Look up Big Status Institute. BIPS.org, BIPPS.org.
Okay.
Bluegrass Institute of Public Policy, or BIP.org, by Jim Waters, and he mentions all the overpromising, and that's where I became further educated to Google it and to listen to people smarter than me. Yeah,
no, I think that's brilliant. You refer to, you don't have the perfect plan, but here's a guy that's got a good plan, so let's, yeah, there's
and another guy who's real sharp is Dan Rose, who has a 10-point drug eradication plan, and the main one I latched on to is random stops at our borders.
We'll talk about that for a second. I was still wanting to talk more about the pensions. I lost it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think you can find BIPS.org.
Yeah, no, it's just oh yeah, Chris Toby. I feel like there's only a couple authoritarian, like people that really know what they're talking about when it comes to the Kentucky pension problem. So I remember Drew Curtis, when he jumped in, he was like, God, as soon as I saw that problem, I was like, I'm about to jump out. And then Toby, he's been writing this book, and he's been putting his ideas out there. So I was wondering if you come across him, if you liked anything he had to say.
I know the names. I mean, it's really unsolvable because we're technically bankrupt, and in any other private situation having $39 billion or whatever the amount is, I do know that one thing that needs to be corrected is the media gave me the impression that the assets of these teachers' retirement plan was down to 12 to 13%, and that is not true. It is at 57 to 60%, and it must be the state workers that are down to 12 to 13%.
Wow.
So either the media has it wrong, or I read it wrong. I don't think I read wrong. The media has it backwards.
I'm mostly, green. I'm mostly progressive, but if we could find things that we both agree on, I really respect. There's this conservative out of Breckinridge County. He was running for state rep, and he said that just cut the pensions. Why we're spending all this money? It's going to go broke.
And you can't when you have these see, what happened was we had a mild pension reform bill passed, which became law, and even Bevin vetoed it, but it was overridden narrowly, 32 to 31, I believe. So it was law, and then it was struck down by Philip Shepard, Judge Shepard, on the technical merits of how it was passed, not on the merits of the law itself, whether the legislature can change an inviolable contract. So he didn't rule on what was supposed to be ruled on. He ruled on the technical aspects, which sort of has invalidated a whole bunch of other laws the past 25 years, which was passed in the same manner, in that laws are supposed to be passed one vote for 3 days, not 3 votes in a day.
Oh, okay.
And that's how it was passed this time a year ago. During the 60-day session, it was passed under what's called the sewer bill, and not intended to ask anything other than to get things moved on, and that's done all the time too. They didn't get a final resolution and out of committee until the last day, so they made 3 votes a day as opposed to a vote in the last 3 days.
So are you saying?
So he threw it out.
The conclusion.
Threw it out without even ruling on whether we had the right to change an inviolable contract.
So are you saying?
That's what we do. Your 401k is not inviolable. You get notices all the time that you're living longer, and your annuity and your 401k is yielding less, and therefore your check is going to be less.
So are you saying that the bill locked Kentucky into paying out all the pensions no matter what?
It made it moot. It threw it back into their lap, which they did nothing about it, other than all they're addressing is the phasing out of health. But now they're onto a different issue, which is all the
Yeah.
Which is a hold on.
Okay, take your time.
What was I saying?
You were talking about the waste bill and the pensions and how it locked us in, or they? Oh no, you were talking about.
We're locked in the teacher's mind, in the state worker's mind, and that's maybe what other legislatures are going to in other states. This thing, which I've never heard this term before until 3 or 4 years ago, an inviolable contract, a contract that can't be changed.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, from the first day of the contract, yes, in which they supposedly receive 50 cents on the dollar of their final paycheck after 27 or 30 years. But all the add-ons in the past 29 years, they are not inviolable. He did not rule on that. He should have, because it's that which is an increase from, say, 50 cents on the dollar to 80 cents on the dollar that has killed us.
Yeah,
all these changes involved, they can make changes upward to the invaluable contract, and they're saying we can't make changes to their addendums or to the original contract, even though they did so themselves.
Whew.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no.
It's up, but you can't change now.
And then it sounds like they're just doing a Band-Aid sort of legislation just to say that they address the issue, but it really doesn't fix anything.
We have one legislator running for governor on the Democratic side, Rocky Atkins, who's been there 31 years.
Yeah.
He's 89.
Yeah.
He's been there since he's 28 years old. I'm 63, and he's 59. I don't think I look older than him. He looks older than me.
Yeah, I mean, you could introduce a bunch of bills. There's a lot you could do as a state rep. There's a lot of that's another thing, I guess, a good transition. You want to talk about Kentucky uglies. You want to talk about the kitchen table issues, but you actually want to tell Kentucky the truth. You know, politicians are just supposed to say how great everybody is and everything's perfect.
And the only way I can do that is through my website and showing up for these debates. But Bevin won't show up because he's basically saying, without saying it, I'm the only one who knows this, he doesn't like Goforth because Goforth is the dick. And he's real rude to Bevin. And so Bevin is asserting his authority to not show up for the debates.
It's a Mitch McConnell tactic, right, to kind of just do one or two debates and then just run away so you never...
He hasn't done any.
You're not...
He didn't show up for the black teachers debate in Frankfurt. He didn't show up for the League of Women Voters. None of the three showed up for the League of Women Voters in Lexington because they're all out of town. But yet they'll show up for the Republican dinners in Murray and Pikeville and other places, but in a short distance. They won't show up for debates, but they'll show up where they can't be questioned.
Right. Has William...
microphone in front of people having dinner and all the faithful, but Bevin gets 20 minutes, me and Goforth only get 5 minutes.
Has William E. Woods been going to the forums?
I mean, he's going to be there tonight. He and I are going to debate tonight at League of Women Voters in Louisville, but by and large, he's not traveling because he's an employee of a couple of limousine companies.
It's kind of disappointing because that was another thing I really liked about the Republican Party 4 years ago was they had a really great, robust debate. The four candidates went to every place, so they all went together and they, answered the questions here, there, everywhere, and I felt like it was...
Because there was an open seat.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no incumbent in there, and they were vying, both sides where Conway had it, I guess was unopposed, and the four, just like in the president's race, were vying for the open seat. And that was a spirited race, and third place Bevin, squeezed up between the two, the Heiner and the Comer camp that got in an argument over Comer's old girlfriend from 20 years earlier.
Conway had a challenger. Jeff Young ran against him. But that's why it was real frustrating because it seemed like it's frustrating actually just right now because you're telling me when it's an open seat then, you have to be fair. But now that the Republican has power, now they're just going to cheat. They're just going to...
Bevin canceled the KT debate. I was looking for the KT debate last night, and Bevin canceled that saying he wasn't going to show. So he could have said, well, then go forth and everybody else needs to show. If you don't show, we're still putting it on.
I would hit him with...
Women voters, let me speak when all three bowed out.
I would hit him with coward. You don't want to, if you believe this or that and we disagree, that's fine. But just what are your reasons? Just tell us why you believe this and that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to get on the talk show. I'm going to Louisville tonight, and I'm going to spend the night and try to get on WHAS in Louisville all day tomorrow and speak to truth to power.
Yeah, man, that's good. It sounds like you're on it. The Kentucky Uglies, I had a list here of all the ones that you had mentioned. You had mentioned diabetes, obesity, heart disease, all cancers, dental, car accidents, and then smoking. You mentioned that in another place. And then you said cleaning up lakes and streams and getting more jobs. So that's diabetes, obesity, heart disease, cancers, dental, car accidents, smoking.
Those are all things that, he allowed, getting back to lakes and streams, we have a lake in eastern Kentucky that we allow Virginia residents to pour their stuff downstream, or just the rains from the spring rains, to hurt one of our lakes in eastern Kentucky that was across from this marina.
Huh.
And only after it got put in the news did Bevan start to try to clean it up. Well, my feeling is you should clean it up with, get people moving, make people work, like true teenagers and low-level prisoners. But go into Virginia, talk to the governor, say, hey, let's clean this up so it doesn't even flow into Kentucky.
Yeah, prevent it. Preventive is,
he's too busy he's been in India, he's been in D.C. for Trump. All he does is talk about Trump and Pence and how Pence come into, he'll pay down his debt from 4 years ago. He's $3 million underwater from 4 years ago.
Right.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah, no.
He's not spending any money on this race because he has so much debt from 4 years ago.
He's raised it.
Once he became the nominee, he basically had a shoe-in because, unbeknownst to everybody, we were becoming a red state long before Trump because of Obama and his coming down on our coal business and the fact we didn't vote for him. We were becoming a red state. We also wanted to throw out the Democratic legislature under Greg Stumbo and how much he held up a lot of good deals out there.
The vaccines, where are you at on vaccines?
I'm for it. I'm 100% for vaccines. Now, whether it should be mandatory, that's a debate, but I think, there's nothing, I've never heard anything wrong with vaccines, and especially with, I don't know the proof is there with the autism and stuff like that. No,
I agree with you. It just seems actually it's like a flat earther kind of thing. It's just kind of like
it's climate change. I just measles aside, there are vaccines are real good for most diseases and infections.
Because you mentioned a bunch of diseases. You mentioned a bunch of health problems, diabetes, obesity, which those are kind of related, health, disease. Smoking's kind of, ties into all of it, but it's just bad lifestyles, not exercising, and then cancer, dental.
Don't you think the fact that, you remember when you were 18, 19, and 20, that when people said you couldn't drink till you're 21, you went, sure, I'm going to drink it. I have to go to war and fight for you. I'm going to find a way to get a beer. You can store beer down to 19 and not worry about whether the federal government tries to take away the highway funds. I mean, I'm all for changing the beer drinking age to 19 and 18 if you're in the military.
Yeah, that's
on my website.
Yeah, no, I want to get into that too, but I guess I just wanted to know, Kentucky has all these health problems. What would be the solution? What are your ideas for...
Diabetes, I'm writing a white paper on that for the military right now, and that is 100% high fructose corn syrup being given to our 1, 2, and 3-year-old babies accidentally by these ignorant mothers who have replaced milk and orange juice that you and I grew up with real expensive Cokes and soft drinks that has high fructose corn syrup that's making these little 6 and 7-year-olds have rolls of fat on them and not able to exercise because they drank something that made them even more hungry.
Yeah, Mountain Dew mouth. They call it Mountain Dew mouth.
It's anything that has that juice in it and that sugar in it, and that's what's causing diabetes. Juvenile diabetes is high fructose corn syrup.
Now, tell me about this.
That's my solution to those two is high fructose corn syrup for diabetes and obesity. As far as cancer and dental and premature births, I mean, those all things that I just want to bring to the surface and not talk about as two problems in the pension and opioids, but bring the other 90% back to the surface.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't even address the problem, what's the likelihood it's going to get solved?
Did you know UK's graduation rate for freshmen, 25%?
Yeah, I saw that too, man. Let's talk about the alcohol on campuses. So you say, at first I was like, God, this is crazy, right? That you're going to bring alcohol back to the colleges, but there's some logic to it because you were saying first it's freedom, right? But also there is the logic to it is that if you ban alcohol on campuses, then they're going to go off campuses and they're going to walk through the
behind. And then they have parties off campus and tear up my rental property and my friend's rental property.
Right.
And they have to go an extra year because they don't go to classes often if they live on campus.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's working at Vanderbilt and Ole Miss and Alabama, and they're taking our kids. Some of our UK parents are sending their kids to out-of-state colleges and paying in-state tuition somehow, and because they know that they're safer than coming to UK where the older brother got a DUI.
Right, right, exactly. Freedom. I like freedom.
We've gone from being the number one party school 40 years ago when I went to school to being a den of a school to go to.
That's actually...
that's fun.
I know.
It's a fun school unless you are 21 and can go to the bars or trap somebody else's rental property.
Well, I think it's when you get to be known as the number one party school, I guess they don't want that reputation. Then they just take it, they overcorrect, and they just take it way...
They overcorrected, and they overcorrected with two teetotalers in Bill Young, who built his library right up against the fraternities 3 years before 9/11. And then we hired another teetotaler, Dr. Todd, right before 9/11 in 01. Then 9/11 occurred, and then all hell broke loose. We went into a recession. And the library started, the noise from the parties no longer was an issue because the library started shutting down on Friday night and Saturday night and not being open because of the internet and not needing books because we now have the internet by 04 or 05.
Yeah.
So the library's not open and most people don't even know that.
Okay. So yes or no, you wanted more athletic scholarships for Kentucky high school students?
Athletic and academic.
Yeah, I like that idea too. Basketball, that's religion, and then I grew up.
Why should we give all these scholarships to kids that think they're McDonald All-American in their mind, and they only stay 1 year and they never win us a championship?
Yeah, I would actually like to see a professional team in Kentucky. We have such a great basketball program. We churn out all these great basketball players, and then they just, go elsewhere, and it's like, why not try to keep them here?
Well, that'd have to be Louisville to do it because we wouldn't want it to happen in the UK. We're not doing that good as far as attendance. We're down to 14.5 in actual attendance.
I graduated from University, I like all things Kentucky, but I graduated from University of Louisville, and they always compared to UK because UK was the flagship university, the research institution. So let's talk about UK because you had some interesting things about UK too. You said...
I mean, just like anything, universities are dumbing down to the lower common denominator of kids that they're letting in. And so we're letting in these basketball and some football players that you really can't read. And they have to have a 700 score combined on their SAT.
The statistic that actually got my mouth to just drop was you said 29% of all the incoming freshmen graduate after 4 years, right? I think it was 29%. It was just in the low 20s.
If you're applying to colleges, you could Google all that on the each college website and graduation rate is. The transfers is 87% or 90% in 4 years. Some of them get out in 3.5. So that means a transient kid with a little bit of money pays less than a UK kid that goes 5 years and gets no scholarship.
Yeah, that's
$100,000. 25 times 5 is $125,000, and I guarantee you can get out of transient in 3.5 to 4 years with a little bit of with higher financial aid. You get down to 25 or 30 and get out in 4 years with less debt than UK in 5 years.
Now, you also criticized Matt Bevin with how he was. I guess the way I understood it is that he's chasing all these big corporations all throughout the world, and he tried to bring a battery plant to Pikeville, an aluminum plant to Greenup County, and that fell through. So he's wasting all his time trying to bring these big corporations in. He also went to India, and you said that was more for the federal government, not Kentucky. And then you also mentioned that